ready? All right, all right, all right. I am ready. I hope you are too. Hey, everybody out there. I am your host, Jessica Koch. That's right. This is another Profound Professionals. It's the interview series that has been coming to you for 10 years now. That's right. Count them, big fat 10. We bring you interview guests from all over the globe, over 1,000 now, that help you grow your business or improve your personal life or improve your business and grow your life, whatever you want to call it. They're fabulous. They're amazing. I've got John today. He is the CEO of Bizzuka. That's just fun to say. Say it with me, Bizzuka. And he's the author of INGRAIN AI. We're going to learn all about some AI. You know how much I love AI. So away we go. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jessica. Thanks for having me on. I love your energy. You just crack me up. You can be having a crappy day, and all of a sudden, Jessica enters your life. You're like, oh, this is going to be a blast.
Well, it is my pleasure for certain. Okay, so tell us how. First of all, we didn't know about all about Bazooka. Let's start with Bazooka. Your story and your journey on all things being CEO of, or the journey that led you to. Am I saying it Bazooka right or
Yeah,
Bizooka?
Bizzuka.
Bazooka?
Right. We're not the bubble gum. We're not the weapon. We're just a couple, people in Lafayette, Louisiana. Yeah.
All right.
So I'll give you the 1,000-mile-an-hour backstory. So I spent roughly 16 years in financial services.
Mm.
And then in 1997, the web started to come out.
Mm.
And I built an intranet for our regional office of Northwestern Mutual Life.
Mm.
And I thought this is really cool. It's a lot more efficient than sending out mail and stuff for our internal people. And then I had a friend of mine call me and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about building a website." And I'm like, "Well, I'll build it for you." And so he said, "Well, how much would you charge?" And I'm like, "I don't know, $100 a page." I'm like, "Okay." And next thing I know, we built a 22-page website. And I thought, this is a whole lot more fun than life insurance. So I ejected and I started a web development company. And that was back when everything had to be built from, a single line of code, right? There
Oh my
wasn't any,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
there were no tools out there for that. So we started to build web applications. And back then you could charge 6 figures for a website.
Mhm.
And we had a company that spent a little over $1 million with us to build what's called a content management system. This is back in 1999. And so we built it in a component-based architecture so that when they acquired a new company, we could just click a couple buttons and launch a press release section and launch a FAQ section, all these different things. We had 36
Or
components in it.
AI in advance.
Well, we were SaaS before SaaS was even an acronym, right? So we
Mhm.
built this tool, and then the dot-com bomb hit.
Mhm.
And then we thought, okay, well, we couldn't sell 6-figure websites anymore. But I was like, this tool that we built, why don't we flip it to where instead of it being a developer's tool, it becomes a tool that our clients can click and launch applications. And
Mhm.
so we flipped our model from 6-figure websites to 4-figure websites, but we
Mhm.
would license it. So instead of hosting it for like $29 a month, we would license our software for $150 to $250 a month.
Mhm.
And then we kind of grew from there. This was in Tampa, Florida, by the way. And then we grew from there. We ended up in 2003 moving to Lafayette, where my wife was born and raised. So we moved back to Lafayette, Louisiana, heart of
Mhm.
Cajun country, and we started to grow from there. And then, lo and behold, all my kids graduated from college. And so my wife and I were like, well, they're all over the country now. Maybe we should just kind of divest ourselves of all these employees and stuff. And so we sold off the clients
Mhm.
because we had gradually become a digital marketing agency over the years. And we
Mhm.
sold that off. And then I thought, well, I'll just go be a fractional CMO and ride off into the sunset. And so I
Mhm.
spent a year every Friday working with CEOs, building a community where every Friday I would teach them something about marketing. But having gone from a high of 40 employees to a low of 2.5, I
Mhm,
had to figure out ways to do things,
mhm,
and back then we had Copy AI and Jarvis. So they were basically copywriting tools. And I thought this is kind of interesting, but they kind of talk in circles, but at least you didn't have to start from a blank sheet of paper.
mhm,
But my group that I was teaching about marketing, they were more interested in how I was using AI than they really were about marketing.
mhm,
And so ChatGPT came out in November of
mhm,
23, right? And that's when I was like, "Whoa, they took the training wheels off. This is really powerful." So I
yes,
started to use it in more creative ways, and then these people convinced me to create a course around it.
mhm,
And so I was like, "Okay." And then as I started to create the course, I created a 6-week course, AI marketing for business leaders, or no, AI mastery for business leaders. And I realized after the first 2 weeks, I was teaching a principle that I call scalable prompt engineering. It's just a way to
mhm,
construct your prompts so anybody can come behind you and know what you did, and they could repeat the process and maybe change out some variables or some containers to do something completely different.
and still
But they
you're
weren't quite
teaching those
flipping it.
people to put good information in so they would get good information out, because it still comes down to that.
It comes down to context, right? I mean, it's the look, as a former software developer, it is garbage in, garbage out,
It's
right?
always been that, and it still
Right.
is.
It still is, yeah, only faster, right?
Mhm,
Faster and more prolific. So then I realized, okay, they weren't quite understanding what kinds of context AI needed in order to do really well. And so I happened to remember a book that I had read 15 years earlier, actually 12 years earlier, called Business Model Generation. I don't know whether you've ever heard of that,
mm,
but in it, the guy, I saw him at an Inc. 5000 conference right after he'd written the book. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. He had this thing called the business model canvas, and it explained your entire business model in a grid. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I blew it up to about 6 feet wide, and I would teach our employees, look, this is how our business operates. These are our target customers. These are our revenue streams. These are our cost structures. These are our suppliers. These are our key relationships, all that stuff in there. And so, like, all of a sudden they realized, oh, there are more moving parts than me, you know?
mhm,
And well, I got to thinking about how do I explain this concept to these people? And that's when the business model canvas hit me. I thought, oh, I can take the business model canvas, but I can focus it around AI and context. And so I then created what we now call the AI strategy canvas. And so
mhm,
we use the strategy canvas to help people learn how to have interdepartmental discussions about AI, how to develop strategy around an AI initiative, or just scaling AI in an organization. And as an individual, you can use the canvas to learn how to actually construct a prompt. So that was
mhm.
kind of the backstory of how I got
And is
here.
that
So
what Bazooka is all about, or
yeah, so that's what Bazooka has become. So when we sold off the digital marketing side, like I said, I ended up being a fractional CMO for 2 clients and realized I had just gotten rid of the job that I didn't like and took it back on
Mhm.
with 2 clients. And so, I like, I don't this isn't any fun, but, I've always been a propeller head. So, I mean, my first job out of college was the year IBM came out with the first PC, and they slapped it on my desk and said, "Figure out how to use this thing and then teach us." So, I've
Mhm.
kinda always been in that world, but with AI, I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun, and it moves so fast. It just appeals to the ADD side of me like nothing else.
Me too.
So
I
it's
mean, I
awesome.
always say the limit with AI is our imagination. That is the
Yes,
only thing limiting us is our own imagination. There's so much more that can happen with this in a positive way and in a kind of a scary way. Like it is so big. It is I know it's beyond my own imagination. I got a pretty darn big one. And I just like to see us use it for more of us be using it in the globe for the power of good than not. That's my
Agree.
hope. And also to solve some of to put the great minds and the young minds of the next generation working on solutions for the data centers and the energy and all the other things that come with AI, both, positive and negative. And, people talk about the jobs that it takes away. It's also creating, so many jobs. And there's a lot of arguments on, based on,
Right.
the jobs that by the time it makes this many jobs and this many jobs aren't there, there'll still be more jobs than less jobs. Some people say, there's a whole conversation around that. But I just think there's a lot of good that also can come from it. So I just try to focus on what can we do with this, because this new thing is here. It's like when they first started the printing press. Okay, well the printed word is now out there, and you can put something on it. You can put something wonderful on it, or you can put something not so wonderful on it. Okay, the radio is here. The radio waves are not going away, and no one's going to throw all their radios away. We've got a radio. Now, what are we going to do with it? Good or evil? Same with the cell phone and the World Wide Web and all the things, It's now they are here. They're not going back in the box. They do not fit back in the box.
Right. Right.
And now we just have to decide what can we do that's good with it. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. They've opened Pandora's box. It's not going away. And, it's like they say, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, here's the thing. The way I look at it, I'm watching all these podcasters just like you who are saying essentially the end of the world is coming in. We're racing toward it with breakneck speed, and everybody knows that AI could potentially wipe out all the jobs, and yet we're trying to accelerate into that fire with gasoline. But on the other end, I'm looking at it like, not every business is going to be decimated, and there are only going to be three left. That's just silly. So,
Mhm.
will there be jobs affected? Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. I don't know about you, but I live in AI 14 hours a day, and I'm constantly building things that make my job faster. But
Mhm.
I'm still working 14 hours a day. All I'm doing is I'm accomplishing what used to take me 2 weeks. I can turn that
Mhm.
around in a day, but I don't stop working for 2 weeks. I'm crushing. I'm keeping it going and keeping it going. And so when we're teaching businesses, we teach their employees how to use AI at scale in the organization with the proper oversight, with the proper tools, but with the proper thinking as well. So I don't want people using it as a glorified search engine. I want
Mhm.
them to realize that they could take their own knowledge and their own skills and their own visions of excellence, and they could feed that into AI, and they could develop it even better, even faster, and even more of it. And so,
Well,
what that means as a business, you create new capacity as you teach somebody to take a 5 hour process and compress it to 20 minutes. That's 5 hours of new capacity every week, right? What do you do with that capacity? Well, most
mm,
people are just going to take what they would do tomorrow and they're going to put it into today. And then they get another 5 hours and they pull that in and they pull that in. And eventually, you either don't have the um, the workload to pull into today, and that's when you start to realize you've got capacity, right? But it takes a while. It doesn't instantly show up because you got a backlog of work. But when the backlog disappears, now you've got capacity that shows up. Smart business owners start to recognize that this backlog is going faster. So let's sell into the new capacity, and so they can accelerate as a business at the same time that they're reducing the um, the workload, right? So they're creating efficiency and they're creating sales at the same time. Those businesses are going to be the ones that retain their employees and dominate the market. The ones that are sitting on the fence trying to figure this out or not even doing it because they're resistant, those are the ones that are going to have problems. So I think the more businesses we reach, then the
mm,
more people will retain employment and they'll become more valuable. because they're already valuable, right? They're already valuable in the organization. But if
Well,
I
I
can
believe people will always be
accelerate,
valuable for sure. Now, I
oh,
will
for
give my
sure.
little song and dance disclosure. You guys know I'm the Italian mom of 7, but I'm not your mama. We're not giving you legal, medical, or financial advice. Intellectual property, you need to be careful with what AI tools you choose. You need to talk to your attorney. You need to talk to experts like John. Do make appointments with him. Do make appointments with people that are high-level experts in these spaces to protect your businesses. This is a podcast. It's entertainment, information, and based on our experiences. So,
Your
got to throw
mileage may
those.
vary, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You got to throw those disclaimers out there in the world. Otherwise, they'll say, "You said." Oh, I don't think so.
Right, right.
You're the grown up of your world. That's what I have to say. And that's something, really important to me. And I've done a lot of research on making sure that I'm not putting my blueprint pillars, my knowledge, my intellectual property into the wrong spaces to expand, to brainstorm, and to leverage the power of AI that is positive. So
Mhm,
being super careful with that and protecting your clients' privacy and all the
mhm.
laws and rules that you have to do, especially if you're a highly regulated industry and HIPAA and all the things. Like I said, talk to an attorney, figure out what's safe for your company to use, and meet with experts who are doing this for companies and teams like John. Before we move on to the tip of the day, is there anything else special you wanted to say about Bazooka? Or can we hit a good tip for everybody?
So here's the tip that I would give everybody who's a business owner out there, and this is where most people miss it. There's this phrase being bandied about called AI adoption, right?
Mm,
And if you
mhm,
read all the research, they're like, oh, 86% of companies have adopted AI. Here's the fallacy in that they have not defined what adoption is,
mhm,
or at least they've not defined it appropriately. What they're defining, or how they're defining AI adoption, is by the standard Webster's dictionary version of the word adoption, and
mhm,
that's not it. You have to have metrics. So to adopt AI in your organization, you have to first say, when will we know when we've gotten there? Right. And then
mhm.
how do we get there? So, in other words, you don't adopt AI by buying everybody access to Copilot or ChatGPT.
Or
You
whatever.
adopt AI by teaching them. We have these things that we call the 10 levels of AI mastery, because after doing this for 4 years, we realize there are different levels of skills and abilities that you have. And when you get up to level 6 and level 7, that's where you have the most impact on efficiency and everything else. But every organization we have talked to for at least the last 3 years, the 90% of their operation is operating at level 3 or below. So they're leaving the
Mhm.
best part of AI on the table.
Sure.
So we can take somebody, we already know that if left to their own devices, because they have day jobs, people, if they have to try to figure out AI on their own, they will get to level 6 in somewhere between 19 and 24 months, if they're lucky. Training gets them there in 2 to 6 weeks. So
Mhm,
now you got a 2 year head start on your competition. So that
mhm,
would be my tip, is to don't wait and just tell people to go figure it out on their own.
mhm,
Don't focus your attention on a single vertical AI application. Empower all of your people, give them the tools, but teach them how to use the tool, and teach them how to gain a specific level of mastery, not just,
mhm.
oh, so now you're AI literate. I don't know about you, but if I need to enter a Spanish speaking market, I don't want somebody who's literate in Spanish. I want somebody who's fluent in
Mhm.
Spanish, or probably more of a master in Spanish, right? So that's what I
And
would be
AI
looking
truly
for.
is moving so fast. For someone to say they're truly a master is a difficult statement to make at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
because there's so many versions of what could be described as AI, and there's so many. I mean, it's just changing really, really fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everybody is. I think even the high level experts are still holding on to their hats and trying to keep up.
Oh
Um,
yeah, because there's too many avenues to it. Look, I mean, one of the things that I always needed when I was hiring an accountant or a sales leader, I wanted to know if they knew how to use Excel. you
Mhm.
know? And I would ask them, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in your understanding and your use and mastery of Excel. And
Mhm.
this goes back 10, 15 years, right?
Mhm.
And they would come back, oh, I think I'm an 8. And then I'm like, okay. And I would give them some simple things. Do you know how to create a pivot table? Have you ever created a pivot table? No. You know how to calculate an internal rate of return? No. And then I would ask them a bunch of other questions, and so then they would start to go, well, maybe I'm more like a 5 or a 6. And I'm like, yeah, right. But you can't, if your job is I don't know, if your job doesn't demand that you build a pivot table, the odds are you're not going to build one
Exactly.
until someone shows you the use case for a pivot table in your job. And then you go, oh, crud, look what I could do with that. Right. And that's kind of what it is with AI.
Exactly.
You've used what occurs naturally to you. And so if you're like in marketing, you're going to be using it like a glorified search engine.
Mhm.
But when somebody shows you how to build things, how to build personas, how to build knowledge based documents, how to just build your own personal tools to where you just tell it, I need you to build X, Y, or Z for me, and it'll do it.
Mhm.
That's a different animal.
Mhm.
So there's my tip: train your people. How's
Yeah,
that?
that's a good tip. The other thing we've done in the show since show number one is we share a nonprofit cause that our guests care about, something to inspire others to consider giving time, treasure, or talent to, or maybe even just spread some awareness because awareness is super powerful, or maybe just to remind everybody out there, oh yeah, there's a cause I love. I have life gets busy. Maybe I should check on them and see what I can do.
Right.
So we just love to spread a bit of a love and a bit of awareness out there about a cause that's close to your heart. So what do you got for us, John?
Well, I got a couple. All right. So I love Wounded Warriors, but I also love
That's a good
Special
one.
Olympics. And
Mhm,
and
that's a good
here's the new twist. So my daughter works for a company in Baton Rouge. It's a gym, and it's called Train Unique, and
one.
they specialize in working with kids with Down syndrome,
Oh,
with
cool.
head injuries,
Mm,
with autism, and not
mhm,
just kids but adults.
mhm.
And it's the coolest gym. And they while they're a for-profit enterprise, they would love to have people um, create scholarships for disadvantaged, disabled people to come to the gym. My daughter is one of the trainers there, and she's the manager of the Baton Rouge office that just opened up. So that's my new thing. It's not a nonprofit, but to see the kids light up when they achieve physical goals, and to watch the parents just literally cry when their kids reach a
Mm,
new level, it
that's
to me
awesome.
it just warms my heart. And I would love people to help build scholarships for kids to go through that.
That's beautiful. I love that. And we'll make sure in the article and in some of the descriptions and the places you find this video that we share a link to John's causes. And how about, I'm also a book nut, as you can see behind me. I know trees are important, but I listen to audiobooks. I like paper books. I recycle. I buy used books. I love holding a book in my hand. And so I would love to hear and have you share. You shared one earlier, but a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
Okay, well, a couple of them. So one of them is called Traction by a guy named Gino Wickman,
Mm.
and in it he has established something that he calls the EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, and
Ah,
it's a great way to run your business, especially as a small business owner. It's a great way to manage people, to manage meetings. Great frameworks in that book, Traction. The other one is more for a business that's trying to grow and possibly, moving beyond, say, 40 employees, and they're trying to stretch to 400 or more, and
mhm.
heck, 40,000 for that matter. It's called Corporate Life Cycles. And I
Mm,
think the subtitle is How Companies Grow and Die and What You Can Do About It, or something like that. But it's by a
mm,
guy named Ichak Adizes, Adizes. That book is a complicated read, but what it tells you about it divides people up by their dominant traits. They're either producers, they're administrators, they're entrepreneurs, or they're integrators. So a producer is somebody who just does the work, just show me what to do, give me the rules, I'll take care of it. The administrator is the one that says, I need rules, I need structure, I'm going to organize all this. The entrepreneur is the idea guy, the person that's constantly pushing things to the limit, coming up with new ideas, et cetera. And the
Mhm.
integrator is the one that likes to get everybody to work together as a team, build culture, et cetera. And everybody's a little bit of each, but some have a dominant trait.
Mhm.
When your company is growing, you need to pay attention to the mix of your company, right? So you don't want a ton of administrators in the early days. You want a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of producers, right? The guys that come up with the ideas and the guys that execute the ideas. And then
Mhm.
as you move up that growth curve, then you start to balance it out. But once again, if you have too many administrators, you start to go on to the decline. So
Mhm.
we use that to test people when we're creating like an AI council or an AI center of excellence, because I need the right chemistry on that team. And I
Mhm.
based all of that assessment on that book. And so highly recommend that book.
I love that. And I love the traction one too. That's a great suggestion. Now let's talk about the book you wrote, and you have another one coming. So, Ingrain AI.
INGRAIN AI, yeah. INGRAIN AI. It's about scaling AI in an organization. And very much like the book Traction,
Mm,
it contains all the frameworks that we use when we're working with a company. So we
mm,
show you what needs to go into your AI governance. How do you build an AI council? What's the chemistry that you need in that AI council? It teaches you the AI strategy canvas that I was talking about earlier.
mhm,
It teaches you how to do scalable prompts. So it's all the frameworks you need as a business to grow and to teach people how to communicate about AI and learn how to develop excellence out of AI. So that book is available on Amazon. The new book, I haven't come up with a title for it yet, but it'll be Ingrained something. I don't know what, but I need to have it done in a couple months, Jessica. But gosh, man, we're so busy. It's
what are
hard to
the
get time.
ideas that you're throwing around to that are the main focus of the book?
Well, so the first book has the basic foundational frameworks. The
Mhm,
second book is going to be about accelerating that scale, all right,
mm,
and how to do those benchmarks that I was talking about. So I'm going to expand on the 10 levels of mastery. We have this thing
mhm,
that we created called the three-axis AI maturity model. Sounds complicated, but what it means, if you think about it, as somebody's level of AI mastery increases, they need to do more complicated things, which means the architecture, the AI architectures that they're fooling around with gets more complicated. They might need API access and some other things to connect databases, et cetera. Well, as that increases, then the level of security overseeing that needs to increase. That's governance. Those
mhm.
three things work in harmony, right? Your mastery goes up, the tools you need to access get a little bit more complicated, and they're a little more risky, so we need more security oversight, right?
Yes,
That
security. I'm glad
principle is
that
going to
you're
be,
talking about that because I think
yeah.
that's something people miss.
Oh, it's a big. Not only that, but we also have a game that we put people through that actually tests a cybersecurity incident or an AI gone rogue, an agent gone rogue. So they see who needs to be involved in that. And it's not just an IT person, but there's six people from different areas of the company that have to participate in that game. And they realize, ooh, shoot, so and so needs to handle this. So and so needs to handle that. That person should have been in this, And it's a cool exercise to test your governance and test your security, but it lets everybody know, okay, this isn't a game, right? We're
Mhm,
playing a game right now, but if this happened for real, we be in deep doo doo. And the legal side of things is going to start catching up. And there's
mhm.
already a lot of,
It's
you
the
mentioned
Wild
some of it at
West
the
right
very
now.
beginning. Well, there are
Yeah.
already a lot of state regs that are coming out for FERPA and a lot of other things where
Mhm,
they're I mean, like Europe's big on it already, but they're trying to kind of get a grip on. training itself, meaning teaching your employees, and then you
Mhm.
have to disclose whether you're using AI to sift through resumes, for instance. There's a lot of regs coming up, and you need an AI
Well, yeah,
counsel
because
to be on top of
potentially, yeah, because potentially people could be unintentionally discriminated against if AI is doing that kind of work, right? I mean,
that.
so
Right,
there's all
right.
kinds of factors and things to think about. But at the moment, AI is the Wild West. And I feel for the attorneys because, I mean, this is all, they're going to have to pay attention to lawsuits throughout the country and even throughout the world to set precedents and to figure out what's what and what is truly owned, who owns it, and how the copyrights work, and what are the trademarks, and what are the implications, and
Right.
again, with back to protecting intellectual property and just data overall that go through a company, right, and keeping
Mhm.
that safe. Yeah, because one of my daydreams, because I have a team that checks my email, and I really would love to automate that, but there are so many things, like you said, that gone rogue could go wrong in a
Right.
space like that because of security. So, and with a human for the same reason, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's difficult to feel secure for lots of reasons. So, having good cybersecurity advice and good legal advice and all the experts that we need to run our business is so important.
Well, everything needs to be reimagined, right? All of your workflows need to be reimagined. You don't just take an existing workflow and shove AI into the middle of it. AI
Mhm.
allows you to just reimagine how it operates altogether. By the same token, on the security side, you have to reimagine what's possible on the bad guy side. And,
I know,
and I'll
you
give
gotta be
you
able to
a,
play chess in your head, and not
yeah,
everyone can
pretty
do
much.
that, see those moves 10 moves
Right.
ahead or 20 moves ahead till we have a checkmate. So,
Easily. Well, yeah, I don't know that we'll ever have a checkmate, but I look at it like the radar gun, radar detector wars of the 70s and 80s, right?
as
You
long as
know,
my vacuum cleaner Roomba doesn't start coming to attack, one of those motorized vacuums or coffee pot doesn't get mad at me in the morning. I think
right, right.
that's the that's the sci-fi imaginary make-believe movies that we see that go, I don't know.
Yeah.
The ship
Well,
is
that's
taking over.
exactly. Yeah, that we'll worry about that problem when it
When
happens,
we
right?
get there.
When your vacuum cleaner grows arms and has bullets in
I
its
know, right?
holster, then we're in trouble. But nah, you'll be all right. But I
Yeah.
mean, the thing, 15 years ago, we had an email that came out masquerading as me, went to our accountant and said, "Hey, I need you to quickly wire $20,000 to this address. It was a bill that I overlooked. Please do it." And she said, "Okay, well, send me wiring instructions." And I uh,
No.
sent it back to her.
Oh,
She wired
no.
out $19,800. And then she got to thinking about it and she's like, And then she shot my assistant an email. She goes, "Do you think this came from John?" And my assistant was like, "Oh gosh, no, that's not from John." And my bookkeeper
No.
literally threw up. And we were blessed, thank God, that we got our money back. It took 2 weeks, but we thought we just lost 20 grand. Now, that's 3 days before payroll. That's a bit of a panic.
Yeah.
But but it was an email, right? It was an email. Had she just looked at the reply address, she would have realized it came from an address that wasn't one of ours.
Yeah.
But
Poor thing, I'm sure
the
she was a mess.
oh, oh, man, I felt so bad for her, but, she was devastated, but, God blessed us and we gave us the money back. But, um, the the thing that's going on now with deep fakes, look, I'm on a ton of podcasts. I'm
Scary.
probably on 50 podcasts, like you're on 200 plus, right?
Mhm.
And so
More.
your face, your voice is
Mhm.
easily clonable in seconds.
Mm.
And so if you
Don't give
don't have
anybody
a
any
new,
ideas.
yeah, but think about it. You're easy to clone and you can do it yourself. I've done it, right?
Yeah, I know.
But that means that you have to take a new level of precaution and
Mm,
you have to almost go analog to protect your family against a potential video call from you saying
mm.
quickly, I need you to send me some money,
Yeah, we
or
have
I need you to
yeah,
do whatever,
people are
right?
developing code words and everything because, yeah, phone calls like that are coming
Right.
around the bend, and we don't
My
wanna send
mom, who
anyone
was
to get
94,
harmed. Yeah,
she got one of those calls where it said, "Grandma," and, but she was, at least astute enough to
yeah,
go, "You're not my grandson."
yeah.
But, in today's world, that could be a video call. That could be a phone call where the voice is completely cloned and it's AI back and forth, and the
No,
latency is so small you can't tell. So you do have to have scenarios that you've worked up and say, look, if you get this kind of a request or that kind of a request, we're
yeah,
going to have a dialogue.
and then I guess putting somewhere on your social media platforms as well as your website and things that say no one other than myself have permission to, use AI from my voice, my face, or, my anything. I mean, that's
Yeah,
gotta be the first step. I mean, just like the no trespassing signs, right? You can't say you're a trespasser unless there's a sign out there that says you're not allowed to do this. So,
right. But the
like I
note,
said, we're in the Wild West. We're gonna have to start creating and
well,
the protection rules for ourselves too,
yeah,
I think.
for sure. But the way I look at it, the no trespassing signs only keep the honest people out of your yard,
That's true.
right?
But it does give you weight to stand on when you have to deal with a dishonest person in a court law in a room of, of law. So
Right. Yeah,
maybe.
but in the
Well,
age of
good
AI, it
nerd.
moves too fast, right? AI moves too fast. Those guys will be long gone and you won't be seeing them in court.
Well, let's just wish the best on me and only kindness
There
and
you
good
go. There
happen
you
for
go.
both of us.
Indeed,
Well,
indeed.
this has been a lot of fun and very fascinating, and the world is changing quickly, and it's exciting that can I say this without offending my guest here? That people of our
Age, go ahead, say it.
yeah, wisdom, experience, years on this planet are doing their best to genuinely keep up. I mean, I've taken massive certifications. I've taken trainings in N8N. I've taken trainings in all kinds of AI certification courses and classes, and I'm taking an even more advanced one coming up in June with some of this stuff that can make stuff like in a blink of an eye. It
Right.
is mind blowing
Yeah.
how quickly all of the parameters and the back office and the interfaces and the workflow and everything can just be you it's almost you speak it and it's completed. It's crazy fast. And so, and it's
Yeah.
so fast and aggressive that it does require a 2 solid day training to even use the technology.
Yeah.
So there's some fascinating things out there. And there's ways for that. The coolest thing to me is, so I am, when you described the people, I am one of the creators. I am the ideas girl. I want an AI that does this,
Right.
but I'm not the builder of it. But now with the new things that are coming out, I suddenly can then communicate with a tool, and there it is. The thing I had in my idea is then staring at me and functioning in front of me and correcting itself and fixing its errors and checking for flaws and doing all the things that I, who write zero code, have absolutely no idea how to do. But I have the ideas of what I want things to do for me. And so I have the bigger imagination. And so it's exciting to be alive today,
Yeah.
For example, I don't read notes or write music, but I hear a song in my mind, and I hear the words and I hear how it should go based on the instruments and the little cute notes that go on the pretty paper. But I don't know how to
Yeah.
do that. And, so before I had to hire someone who had that high level skill, and now I can begin to play with things and get help based on using the tools that are out there. It's very fascinating and exciting
Mhm.
what's possible. I'm even just for fun creating this really cool coloring book that also has images to find in it, at the same time that
Oh,
are
cool.
hidden in the image. And they're all these really elaborate, all different kinds of trees. So it's more of an adult or a teen. It's more an advance, that's
Mm.
not like an easy one to do. But, you know, just because that interests me and I felt like doing it one day, and now with the help of my VA taking all the things I created with AI, we'll be able to upload pretty soon into Amazon a 50-page, adult coloring book with images that are also hidden in all the scenes.
Very
I
cool.
mean, on different themes, and I just happen to love trees, so this one's trees, right? It's just so cool what we can do if we try. Um,
Yeah.
or we have an idea. So it's a great time to be alive. I've loved interviewing you. I hope you've enjoyed being on the show. Have you,
Oh,
John?
definitely. Definitely, Jessica. Appreciate you having me on.
Any before we get to the final inspirational closing thought, anything else about you or your business that you didn't get to share yet?
I don't know who the average person is that's watching this, but I would offer you two things. One, if you want to get on the waiting list for the new book, this will give me pressure to publish it.
Give him a
Okay.
little push in the comments,
Right,
people.
right. So if you go to Bizzuka, BIZZUKA.com/2026, and the reason it's 2026 is that's telling John, get her done this year, right? But if you go there, you can get on the waiting list. The other thing is that we have this thing that we call the impact analysis, the AI impact analysis. And what it
Mhm,
does is it allows you to answer a bunch of questions about your staff, how well they know AI, what they're doing with it, et cetera. And then it'll tell you what the economic impact would be to your company if you just moved them from where they are in their level of expertise up to a level 6. So you'll actually see in dollars and cents what that would actually look like in your organization, and then it'll also give you ideas as to what they could build when they get to level 6 mastery, what they could build that would save them 5, 10, 12 hours a week. It literally will give you like dozens of ideas of what they could build, and they don't need AI, or, I'm sorry, they don't need IT's involvement, they don't need API keys. They could literally build it with their own fingertips. We normally charge $550 for this report because I do most of them, but we could give a coupon code and we would drop that to zero. So for the next 3 months, we'll give them 100% off, and the coupon code would be KOCH 100. All right. So if they wanted to do that, then I would be happy to generate those reports for your people. And that's, you'd go to bazooka.com/impact.
mhm,
And that way, again, my goal is to get as much people or as many businesses as possible to retain their employees because we can help them be infinitely more valuable and help
mm,
them grow their markets.
mm.
So that's my final thought.
On your business, and sharing about yourself. We're gonna, before we get to the inspiration, just a closing quote or inspirational thought, I'm gonna tell you, if you've enjoyed this and you're thinking, wait, I can improve someone's personal life, I could grow someone's business, this profound professional show, this Jessica girl, I need to be there. Well, reach out to me and our team will tell you just how to be a guest on the show. But before we say goodbye, we love your amazing gift. We love your amazing website and your waiting list. But give us some information or inspiration to close.
Here's what I would say is don't be afraid of AI
Mm.
because, I mean, I hate to say, the cat's out of the bag, the toothpaste
Right.
out of the tube or whatever. It is, we can leave that one alone for now. But the reality is, um, if you look at it like it's a great recipe book and you got, the way I look at it is if somebody gave you a pound of hamburger and all you can do is make a hamburger with it, then there's something wrong, you know. But all the things that you can make, even though just to you initially is a pound of hamburger meat. Man, you could make jambalaya, you could make spaghetti, you could make an infinite number of dishes, and you could feed yourself and your neighbors and everybody else for a long time just being creative with the tool that you have. And
Mhm.
it makes you so much better and so much faster and so much more creative
Mhm.
if you know how to use it the right way. But it gives you the time to leverage those God-given talents that you haven't been able to tap into because you're doing the stuff you hate to do at work. This AI allows you to hand that off to AI so that you can do the things you really love to do. That's the way I want you to look at AI.
That's right. Get excited, get creative, and use your time differently because now you
Yeah,
can. So I
there
love
you
that.
go.
Thank you so much for being on the show, John. And I am your host, Jessica Koch. As always, this has been an amazing, profound professionals. But until the next one, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.